Hello, everyone. So, it is rather rainy and wet St. Andrew's evening. Uh, my children are asleep, my wife is at a meeting, and so I am home alone with a glass of red. And I thought, since the giveaway for my book, On the Edges of Elfland, is actually almost done. It ends, I think, at around 2 a.m. Tomorrow. Since it's going to end at around 2 a.m. Tomorrow, and by 2 a.m. tomorrow, I do mean 2 a.m. on the 1st, not like 2 a.m. as in several hours from now. That I would do what I had promised to do at the very start of all of this, which was a live reading from my book. Now, before I do that, I just wanted to very briefly talk about, go back over again, because I think I've mentioned this before, how this book kind of came about. So almost 10 years ago now, I was taking a class at Lincoln Christian University where I did my undergraduate degree, and it was a class on Lewis and Tolkien. Our final research assignment in that class was to do something creative using the themes of Lewis and Tolkien. One of the options, and the one that I selected, was to write 3 chapters plus a total book outline for a novel that explored the themes utilized by Lewis and Tolkien in their fiction. And thus was born what was at the time called The History and Happenings of the Village of Carlisle. I do have a tendency, a penchant, if you will, for long titles. I settled for a much shorter title, On the Edges of Elfland, when I wrote this book. But I started working on it then. I got fairly far into it, and then gave it up. Stopped working on it, I had schoolwork to do, and so naturally, the best time to pick it back up again was in the second year of my PhD. While I was trying to get that written, I decided, what I ought to do right now is write a novel. And you know what novel I ought to write? I ought to revisit the one I started several years ago now. And so I did, and I rewrote the entire thing from scratch. And so, a few years later, after working on it a bit more, I contact Stock. They're interested, and, now here we are. On the Edges of Elfland exists in the real world. I still can't believe it most of the time. And so anyway, tonight, as a kind of send-off for the giveaway that I've set up through Goodreads.com, I thought I'd do a little live reading for you. And of course, this will be recorded, and I'll save it to my phone and probably post it to my YouTube channel as well, so that I can post it to the blog and you can watch it all later. I only just selected the text about 10 minutes ago that I'm going to read. So, apologies in advance, and I'm breaking every rhetorical rule by doing this, but apologies in advance should I flub a line. If you happen to have a copy of the book, we are in the middle of Chapter 8. Actually, we're towards the end of Chapter 8, on page 42. I feel like I'm leading a seminar again, so I'm going to stop that and go into reading. All right. The Church of St. Nicholas was one of those few churches into which a person could go at almost any hour during the day. Locked boxes were set up all around the inside to take donations, and there were plenty of places to sit quietly. When Alfred went in, he saw no one else. The light shone through the stained glass windows, but Alfred had little time to notice the beauty of the church. He began to search around, looking for a secret passageway, but nothing presented itself. He looked for over an hour, the pain in his chest increasing every moment. "Damn it," he whispered loudly. "Where is the entrance?" He sat in a huff near one of the more decorative windows. He looked out it. wondering if it had been in place when the goblins had attacked. As he looked at it, he finally began to notice it. It was a triumphant battle scene. Perhaps it had been meant to depict Christ's conquering at the Second Coming, but it looked much like what the book had described as the battle around the church. The demons and imps looked remarkably like the goblins he had seen. Even the angels reminded him of the elves. He stared long at one in particular until he realized, that has to be Carlyle. As he said the words, a stone in the floor near the front next to him began to move. He looked down. There was a ladder. This must be the secret passage. Alfred set his rucksack over the man-sized hole that had opened in the floor. He pulled out his Elfland attire and quickly changed. He left his normal clothes in a pew. He girded the sword round about him, slung his pack on his shoulders, winced in pain, and descended into the hole. It was too dark for him to see. "I should have brought a torch," he whispered to himself. He continued down the ladder and came to solid ground. He turned round to face front, took a step, and fell down what felt like a dozen stairs. The pain in his chest was becoming unbearable, but he got to his feet. He felt gingerly in front of him with his feet. More stairs. He did not know how far down these stairs went, but he traveled on. He fell twice more before he came to a long stretch of flat surface. The ground and walls around him were earthy at first, but as he walked on they turned more to stone. Doubts and fears began to creep upon him in the dark. What if he didn't get to the forest in time? What if the goblins attacked before he could find help? Who did he think he was, anyway? As if he could do anything against such forces of evil. Alfred stopped. His chest burned with pain, sweat was pouring from his face. The weight of his rucksack seemed to have increased with every step he took. Yes, that's it. Just stop, the doubt said to him. There's nothing more you can do. You're just a lazy boy who thought himself a man. You're too weak, too young. The tunnel seemed to be getting warmer. Everything began to swim before Alfred's eyes. He began to doze. In that place between sleep and wake, Alfred began to remember his old dreams. He remembered the song of the elves. He remembered his battle against the giant. He remembered his conversations with Mr. Cunning. It was never about him, who he was or how special he was. There was nothing special about him, but that did not matter. What mattered was only to do what he had been tasked. Alfred struggled forward. Neither the pain in his chest nor the temptation ceased, but he plodded onward. He thought he saw a light in the distance, but before he could reach it he stumbled into something. "Arg!" said a voice in the dark. "And what have we here? A wayward elf, I would say. A wounded one. All the worse for you." With that, Alfred was attacked. Alfred recognized the creature for a goblin and drew his sword. It felt heavy in his hand. "Come on then," he shouted, sounding braver than he felt, but just as tired. The goblin lunged with a sword of its own, but Alfred deflected its thrust. It came at him again, this time its sword point going home into Alfred's shoulder. Then it sliced him against his already painful chest. This would have been the death blow had Alfred not begun to jump back already. Then Alfred lunged with his own sword, shouting, "I wounded the terrible giant. I have slain the attacking goblins. You will not stand before me." He brought his blade crashing down on the goblin's head. It fell to the ground, dead. Alfred picked up his sword, took 2 steps, and fell to the ground next to it. All right. So that's the reading for tonight. Hopefully, it has encouraged you to check it out. Sorry about that. Hopefully that has encouraged you and not put you off from checking out the book. I do hope you check it out. And just so you know, so there's the giveaway going on. There's still time to get into that, but there are over 250 people who have already entered the giveaway. So if you haven't already entered, but would still like a copy of my book, you could always buy one. And one of the ways that you could do so is to reach out to me directly. If you're in the United States, you can reach out to me directly and buy the book from me at a significant discount compared to what you would get it from either Amazon or Within Stock, and that's with shipping and handling taken into consideration. I know initially I said that this would go till 9, but I've read the section. I think I'm pretty good. I'm tired. Long day, kids, and all that. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that brief reading and kind of the introduction to the book. Like I said, enter the giveaway, or just simply buy the book. I think it'd make a great Christmas present because it's such a short book that it can be easily read over the Christmas holiday. And with that, I will leave you all in peace tonight.